Welcome to the pocket. My name is Scooter, and here for you guys today. I got a bit of a three-part combo. We got my Thanksgiving reactions. We've got a bit of a live Black Friday reaction. Happy Thanksgiving, happy Black Friday to everyone. I went to Best Buy today, got a new webcam, so now I can record on my PC instead of my laptop. So I'm pretty hyped about that. Now I'm just missing the last piece of the puzzle, and that would be a lighting component. But we're getting there one step at a time. And then finally, the last thing, the third thing is going to be the rest of my money line picks for this week. So that should cover everything for this entire week. For the very first time, I am like ahead of schedule, I guess, because normally I get things posted the day before, the day of, whatever event they're related to. And it makes you feel like you're behind, you're missing out a little bit. People are looking these things up like a day or two before, so I want to get it out for you guys, so you got a couple days to digest it before we actually get there. That being, the money line picks, something I'm previewing, something I'm reacting to. The goal is obviously to get it out as soon as possible, so getting two birds with one stone on this one. Let's get right into it, starting with my Thanksgiving reaction. And the first game, the Bears at Lions. It went sort of similar to the way I predicted. I predicted that the Lions would win. I believe I said 27-16, yes. And the game finished Detroit winning 23-20. So I was correct about the money line. Pretty obvious. I was wrong about the spread. I thought the Lions would cover. That was the first time in a couple weeks that they haven't covered. And then in the over under, I was correct that it would be under. So in this game, I said in my preview that the Lions basically know how to do everything right. They know how to win games, and the Bears are like the opposite. And in this game, it really couldn't have reflected that anymore. I mean, the Lions, they kind of took an early lead, and the Bears were struggling in the whole first half on offense. But then in the second half, Caleb Williams figured it out, and their offense started scoring points. And eventually it got down to the point in the fourth quarter where the Bears actually had a chance to win the game. They had the ball last. Their defense was stopping the Lions, giving them opportunities. And what did the Bears do with this? Well, they got into field goal range, and they could have either tied the game or tried to score a touchdown. But I believe they took a sack, and the clock was still running. There was about 30, 35 seconds left, I believe, on the clock when Caleb Williams took that sack. And rather than calling their last timeout, they elected to basically try to run a play. If it's incomplete, it stops the clock with a few seconds left. If you catch it in bounds or go out of bounds, you can call a timeout. Obviously, if you go out of bounds, it stops the clock for you. But and then they elected to save their timeout for that situation, right? So you can get your timeout, gently get your field goal kicker out there, not have too much stress for him and have him go kick the game tying field goal. But also, if you're going to try to score a touchdown, if you get close enough in that one play, calling that timeout gives you, enough time to take one more shot. But nonetheless, if you're going to do this, you have to get to the ball, and you got to get to the line. You got to hike it, right? Whether you're going to spike it or you're going to throw, a quick pass and try to call a timeout. You need time to get all this done. And the Bears, I remember being confused watching it, just moseying up to the line. Caleb Williams is making all his calls and adjustments. Okay. But I wasn't seeing the urgency. And I was confused as to whether or not, what was going on. I mean, the coach must have been on the same page with him because he didn't call a timeout either. Eberflus. And the Bears they hiked the ball with like 7 seconds left. They let like almost 30 seconds pass off the clock before they got this ball off. Caleb throws a deep pass and it's incomplete. Even if it was incomplete in time to stop the clock, they were pretty far backed up. So that would have been a total failure no matter what happened based off of how long it took them to hike the ball. But yeah, that was the end of the game. And you could just see it, the camera zooming in on Matt Eberflus's face in total shock that he just blew that game. And same thing for Caleb Williams. And I feel very sorry for Bears fans, all the rest of the players on the team, because that was an absolute disaster. Matt Eberflus just got the news today that he parted ways with the Bears, or rather they fired him. And although I don't really think it was the defense that's been the problem all year, clearly he's having a hard time using his leadership skills as a head coach to get this team rallied and coordinated and prepared each week. This has been a weekly occurrence for them, losing games like this. So their season's over. And this is just what separates them from the Lions, right? I kind of made that my main point in my preview that the Bears just can't execute. I think the Bears are a really talented team. They have a great defense. Caleb Williams obviously is very talented, great receiving core. I get the offensive line isn't that great, but there's enough there for you to have a playoff caliber team. But they just haven't been led, and the organization seems to agree firing the head coach. So moving on, that's enough about the Bears Lions game. We'll talk about the Giants Cowboys game. Man, this first half was so boring. It really, really was. I mean, it was just hard to watch. Both offenses struggle. The penalties really started racking up, and by the end of this game, I believe the Giants finished with 13 or 14 penalties, and that's something I'll get into more. But my prediction for this game was Dallas to win 23-20, or a 23-13. Excuse me. They ended up winning 27-20. So I was right about the money line. I was right about them covering the spread, but I was wrong about the over-under. Giants sort of backdoored it. The Cowboys had I'm pretty sure it was a 3-score lead at one point. What was it? 20-3 or whatever it was. It was pretty out of reach, and the Giants were scoring in garbage time. But as for the Giants, the offensive line, once again, it looks really bad again. It looks like last year where the quarterback, whoever it is, only has like 2.5 seconds in the pocket before he gets sacked pretty much. Not like before he gets to evade and escape. No, that's when he gets sacked. And at least Drew Lock can scramble, because if it wasn't for his ability to do that and to improvise, then the Giants would have been totally lost offensively in this game. He's just got to hold on to the ball. He did fumble, and that was really unfortunate. But yeah, the offensive line's bad, but thankfully, sort of like Tyrod was able to last year, Drew Lock's mobility is helping him out in that regard. Now, Drew Lock, more on him. He didn't look bad. I really don't think he did. Obviously, he's a backup quarterback, but speaking relatively to, backups and just the Giants in general this year, he had some things going with Neighbors. I mean, he was running the offense. He was taking some shots deep, and that's just what Giants fans want to see right now. I don't care if you throw an interception. I don't care if you fumble trying to scramble and get out of there. Just don't sit there and take sacks anymore. I can't watch it anymore. It's just really, it doesn't look like effort. It doesn't look like a good product. Dallas showed up pretty much just enough to make a few splash plays and then coast for the rest of the game. That pick six, really good play by the Cowboys defensive player. And that's just something that happens to the Giants. It seems like every game against the Cowboys is some play like that happens, and they're just gifted a touchdown. And you look at the final score, even though I have been saying it was garbage time, it reflects that this game was actually pretty close outside of one or two plays. Also, bad news for the Giants. Dexter Lawrence dislocated his elbow. He's going to be out for the year. Even if he was able to play, I would say just shut him down. He's our best player on the team right now, and we can't afford to get him any more injured. And he's not the youngest guy anymore. I believe he's like 27 years old. So he's not on his way out or anything. But you don't want to get guys injured like that late in their careers. Someone else. One positive I do actually want to talk about for the Giants is Theo Johnson. He looked awesome. I mean, and it wasn't like he was doing anything incredible when it came to just receiving skills, right? I mean, he was getting open on short routes. Obviously, he's still in there blocking. He did fail to help Chris Manhertz double team Micah Parsons, and Micah got in there, and that was Theo Johnson's fault. Or Micah didn't get in there. Chris Manhertz held. It called back a big play, and it might have looked like Chris Manhertz's fault. But if you're Theo Johnson, I think using two tight ends to block their best pass rusher is actually a pretty smart strategy, but Theo wasn't even on him. But what I'm saying is, he's okay running his routes. He's okay with his hands. He doesn't really drop anything. But after the catch, Theo Johnson, he was a monster. I mean, it was like he trucked every first tackler that came up to try to bring him down. And I mean, lowered his shoulder right into their chest, broke that, be a little elusive, kind of take a different angle when the defender's coming at you, throw out a stiff arm. He was getting turning 3-yard catches into 10-yard catches. He did that 4 or 5 times in the game, and it was mostly in the second half. So I love to see that out of our tight end. The Giants playmakers, except for Malik Neighbors, who doesn't even look motivated anymore, the Giants playmakers don't break tackles like that. So to see that from him, from a rookie tight end, is all I need to see from him. Unfortunately, he's out for the year with, I believe it is, an ankle injury. So It's good. It's good that he looks good, and the Giants obviously have a lot of young players that we can be excited about moving forward. But for the rest of this season, can't get excited about Theo Johnson. Moving on to the Dolphins at the Packers. The Packers ended up winning 30-27. I was right about the money line, the spread, and the over/under. I predicted the Packers to win 27-23, I believe, and the spread was 3.5. So like I said, I hated to boil it down to like a simple sort of superstition. I guess it's not really that quantifiable that the Dolphins don't play well in the cold, but I mean, it really is. Uh, I was looking into these stats after the game because I kept seeing them on social media. And I wanted to get them right, but the Dolphins haven't won a game below 23 degrees in 32 years. So it's not just this year, but this has been a thing for them for a long time now. I don't think it was 23 degrees. But for this regime of the Dolphins, they've lost their last 11 games below 40 degrees. That's not even that cold. I mean, don't get me wrong. 40 degrees is cold, but you got the pads. You throw one extra layer on, you're good in 40 degrees, right? You're moving, especially if you're a starter. You're out there moving around consistently. Like, you're not getting cold in that weather. And they've lost 11 straight games below 40 degrees. So, I mean, like I said, you could call me crazy for boiling it down to that. I gave respect to both the Dolphins and the Packers. You know, the Dolphins have a good offense. They do. They still scored points in this game with Achane, Johnny Smith continuing to break out for them. And obviously, they still have Tyreek and Waddle with Mike McDonald calling plays. So they got a dangerous offense. And they've got a defense that's got some pieces, had some good outings in the past couple weeks. But the Packers are just a better overall team. I had them in the above tier in the playoff contenders, whereas the Dolphins are playoff hopefuls. Sorry, my cat Milo is crying to come into the room. Here he is. He's 17 years old. He looks like Garfield. He's a pretty cool guy, but he's a little dramatic sometimes. He was crying outside the door. I'm not sure if you guys heard that, but so I'm just going to let him hang out in here, and we're going to keep pushing with this video. All right. So anyway, back into the Packers-Dolphins game. I just genuinely believed the Packers were a better football team, but also they did have that ultimate home field advantage of, you know, when they're home, they're playing in the cold. The Dolphins hate playing in the cold, and the Packers were up like 30 to like it was like 30-3 or something for a while, and the Dolphins scored 2 touchdowns just to try to make a comeback, but it wasn't happening. The Packers running the ball, running these strange schemed up run plays coming off the bye, really reminds me of what we see from Kyle Shanahan and these others from that coaching tree. So it's really good to see the Packers playing so well, running the ball with Jacobs, Jordan Love, making the most of these creative plays. And that's all I got to say about the Dolphins Packers game. And then I was kind of trying to do a live reaction to this Raiders Chiefs game. I was hoping I could catch the end of it as I was recording. Had that little debacle with Milo over here. So unfortunately, that's not going to happen. But what I can tell you is give you kind of like my raw reaction. Just seeing that they just now won 19-17, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And the Chiefs were locking them down defensively for the majority of the game. But Brock Bowers, he was getting them down the field. And then he scored a 33-yard touchdown after they kicked a field goal. And that was late in the third quarter, I believe, if not early in the fourth. And then later on in the fourth, Aiden O'Connell hit Trey Tucker on an absolute bomb. Trey Tucker was running a fade. He caught it. The Chiefs defender fell, and he ran in for a touchdown. But what do I say about this Chiefs team, man? What do I say about them? They will find a way to make this spread not happen. They were projected 12-point favorites. That's what they were. And I had them winning by 13 points. I really should have known 12 points is too much for them to cover, especially on like a Black Friday game where you just know it's going to be close when the Chiefs are playing, even if it's a team like the Raiders. And kind of unimpressed by the Chiefs' offense, and their defense, I guess, showed up this week. But you're playing Aiden O'Connell, right? I mean, it's really not that impressive. So the Chiefs are still toting water when it comes to being that elite football team. But as long as they keep winning, I have faith that they'll get it going into the playoffs, and they'll become that that Super Bowl winning team that we all know them as. As for the Raiders, you love seeing the sparks from guys like Trey Tucker, Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers. Pretty sure he had a good game too. Let's see. He had 6 for 97. So, yeah, great game from him. Bowers is such a beast. 10 receptions, 140 yards, and a touchdown. Outside of that 33-yard touchdown, he also had a one-handed catch running like down the sideline for another 30-yard gain. So he is he a top 3 tight end already? I think so. He might even be the best tight end in the NFL right now. I'm not kidding. He really looks that good when you go and compare it to everybody else. So that is going to be it for my Thanksgiving reactions, my Black Friday reactions. Now you guys are going to get the rest of my Moneyline picks for the rest of this week. So far, I am 4-0, and there are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 games remaining. And to start things off, we're going to look at Texans at Jaguars. Texans are 5-point favorites, and there's a 43.5-point total. I don't know why it's a 5-point spread. I really don't. I get Trevor Lawrence is coming back, but he's coming back off an injury. We saw this last year. And this Texans team got the better of them. I believe it was both games last year. I believe this is the first time they're meeting this year. And you just look at the absolute disaster of an organization that the Jaguars are and how successful the Texans have been, even despite some of the injuries and mishaps they've had this season. It's just like the Bears and the Lions game. I just don't expect Jacksonville to beat the Texans at all. I would never expect it, and I truly would be shocked if that happened. Now, will the Jaguars cover a 5-point spread? If it's like 28-24 and Jacksonville walks into some garbage time touchdowns, yeah, sure, I could see that because this Texans defense lets up a lot of big plays. They really do. But I don't know. I just feel like the Texans are getting back into their rhythm. They're going to be upset after losing to a divisional opponent last week in the Titans, but their offense looks good again, the Texans offense. So I'm going to take them to win 31-20. I'm assuming Jacksonville just misses out on that one extra garbage time touchdown that could make this a lot closer and they would cover the spread. So that is also going to be the over by quite a bit. That is the over by what looks like to be 6.5 points or so. So I'm pretty confident in the over hitting. Texans spread a little less confident, but I'll take it. Moving on to our next game, we have the Colts at Patriots. This should be a really, really interesting game because we have two young teams with really young starting quarterbacks. One of them is a rookie. One of them is almost a rookie because he only started like 3 games his first year, that being Anthony Richardson, who I just spoke of, and Drake May, who I initially spoke of. So the Colts are 2.5-point favorites, and the total is 42.5. So one of the things we've been seeing all year is the unders hitting in these Patriots games. Do I see it in this game? Kind of, because these are two teams that are going to be running the ball quite a bit. The Colts more so than the Patriots, but the Patriots will be running the ball with Ramondre Stevenson. I believe he's still out there, and that's just the way that they are trying to establish their identity, right? They still have that respect of the defense and the run game that Belichick passed down to Gerard Mayo, and he's instilled that this year, and that's why these unders have hit all year for the Patriots. So I still think the Colts are going to win just because they have so much more talent. They've got a young quarterback too who you're not really sure what to expect of him, but I'm going to take the Colts to win by 1 point, 21-20. So that would be Patriots spread. I think Patriots spread might be the best bet here just because whenever it's a close game and you're not really sure, just take the points. But that's also going to be the under, probably the actual best bet in this case for this game, under 42.5. Of course, I could see a couple explosive plays being made by either team. But in the end of the day, if there is a game script where the under is going to hit, right, it's going to be under 42.5. I would say a matchup between two teams like this, a team that likes to run the ball and a team like the Patriots. Moving on to our next game, we have the Chargers at the Falcons. The Chargers are 2.5-point favorites, and there's a 48.5-point total. That's pretty high. We've seen the Chargers play in some pretty competitive games recently. The Ravens, of course, the Chargers jumped out to a lead, kind of choked it away, kind of started coming back at the end. There's been a lot of questions about the schedule they've played so far, but kind of check the box there for me. Any good team this year is going to lose by a touchdown or so to the Ravens. So I'd say they played respectably well in that game, and It's more the same, more of the consistency you can expect from the Harbaugh regime. As for the Falcons and Raheem Morris, you never know what to expect from them. I mean, there have been games this season that I've been so confident that they're going to win that they just get absolutely destroyed. And then there's games like the Buccaneers game where I'm like questioning if the under's even going to hit. And then they go out and they score 30 plus points. So I'm not really sure how they're going to perform against the Chargers offensively. The Chargers defense is pretty good. I think it's a little inflated statistically by the schedule they've played, but nonetheless, they've produced and they're playing with confidence. And that's just something I'm not sure the Falcons have right now. So I am going to take the Chargers to win, and I'm going to take their spread. So unlike the last game, I'm definitely more confident that the Chargers will win and win comfortably. So I have 28-24, Chargers minus 2.5, and that is going to be over 48.5. The Falcons, they've got everything they need offensively, but defensively, I don't think they're going to be able to get the pressure on Justin Herbert to stop the play action passes they run. And I don't think they're going to be able to, respect their run game enough, the Chargers, even though they did just lose Dobbins. Moving on to the next game. We got the Seahawks traveling to the New York Jets. And this is going to be another one of our weekly meme games because the Jets are in there. There's so little to say about the Jets. I mean, we know what they are at this point. I don't even know if Aaron Rodgers is going to play. There's all this weird stuff coming out about Woody Johnson and how he doesn't like him. It's just weird. But the Seahawks are 2-point favorites, and the total is 41.5. I'm pretty much just picking the Seahawks 23-20. Give me that Seahawks spread, just like the Chargers. I'm confident that they're going to beat the Jets, especially with how they played last week versus the Cardinals. And I think enough points will get squeaked out by both teams that over will hit, but I'm really not too confident either way when it comes to that. Obviously, one play can completely change that when it's already as low as 41. Geno Smith's been playing well recently. The defense for the Seahawks looks good at this point in the season. And I think Aaron Rodgers might make some plays with Devontae and Garrett Wilson, and that might be enough to score some points, but not enough to win, not in the right moments, not at the right times. Moving on to our next game, we have the Titans at Washington. And this is a scary game for Washington, if you ask me. I mean, the Titans just come off a game where they beat the Houston Texans, right? A team that, although they've had their struggles as well, I'm a lot more convinced by their talent and their success than I am about the Commanders. The Commanders are kind of like the Texans of this year, but they're kind of losing that aura with every game that they drop. And this is another trap game for them. They're 5.5-point favorites, 44.5-point total. This Titans team just put up 30 points on a Texans defense that got a pick six in that game, right? So they threw away points and they still won, scoring 30 plus. So I would be really shocked if the Titans scored any less than 24, which I have them doing in this game. But I'm still going to take the Commanders to win 27-24. I think the best bet in this game is either the over or Titans spread. I don't think Washington 5.5 makes a lot of sense based off how they've been playing recently. And you just look at the Titans and what they've got to work with. And they're honestly, you look at them at the start of the year, their situations were pretty similar. They had a young quarterback, a new regime. They were going to be trying to do a lot of new things. And maybe it just took until now for the Titans to figure it out. But you never know. We'll just have to see after the game happens. Moving on to the next game. We got the Steelers at Cincinnati. This game is going to have serious implications for the Bengals. Obviously, if the Steelers lose, that's not good for them, but they're still going to make the playoffs. But for the Bengals, if they lose, they're pretty much out. They're going to have to beat the Steelers twice when they win out and attempt to make the playoffs as part of their plan. They're going to have to beat them twice. Fortunately, they're home for the first game, and they're 3-point favorites, actually, which is pretty surprising, and it shows you that even Vegas has not given up on this Bengals team. There's a 48.5-point total. That's pretty high for a game against the Steelers, but we know how dangerous this Bengals offense is. And to be honest, I could see the Steelers just going out there and rolling the Bengals, right? Because they're just a more complete football team. But I think Joe Burrow might have one of his X factor second halves, right? The Steelers jump out to an early lead, and then they only score 10 points in the second half. And the Bengals score 3 touchdowns in the second half and come back and win 24-23 as my prediction. So that would be Steelers spread. And that is going to be under 48.5. I think that's a little bit high. Um, wouldn't be totally shocked that the Steelers could score on this Bengals defense and that the Bengals can just score on anyone. We'll just have to see. But I just feel like maybe coming off the bye, Lou Anarumo will have the defense playing a little bit better, and we'll just have to see. It's going to be one of my upsets this week, and so is this next game. I'm taking the Cardinals over the Vikings. Give me the Cardinals to win 24-20. The Vikings are 3.5-point favorites and then 45.5-point total. So I'm taking the under, and I'm obviously taking Cardinal spread. My reasoning for this, I just sort of feel like it's that point in the season where the Vikings are due for a loss. They really haven't played all that great the past couple weeks. I think, they've shown to be an elite caliber team, but the consistency hasn't always been there for them. Because you look at how they played last week, and you can see, or the previous weeks, they barely beat the Bears 30-27. That game went into overtime. And yes, this Bears team is talented. I talked about them in their matchup against the Lions and how I believe in their talent, but they're not like a quality team that you should be going into overtime with, right? And then they played the Titans. Yes, I talked about how they are potentially dangerous too, but barely pulled away 23-13. It was a lot closer than that for most of the game. And then you just look at how the Cardinals have played, and outside of that stinker that their offensive line put up against the Seahawks, they've played extremely well the past couple weeks. And I think they are going to be ready to pull off an upset. So give me the Cardinals 24-20 as they continue to push for the playoffs. Moving on, we got our next game, the Rams at New Orleans. And this game is, I believe, the highest total projected except for the Ravens-Eagles game, 49.5. The Rams are 2.5-point favorites. At this point, both of these team seasons are pretty much over. I mean, the Rams still definitely have a chance to make the playoffs. I just don't see it. They're too beat up in the trenches. Their defense can only pass rush, and that's it. So I expect the Saints to be able to score points in this game. And then inversely, I expect the Rams to be able to score points. The Saints are pretty much tanking this year. They've lost a lot of guys to injuries. They trade away Marshawn Lattimore. Stafford, Kupp, and Puka, they might have 300 yards, 150 each. So, yeah, I'm going to take the Rams to win 28-27. Could go either way if the scoring gets out of hand, but I'm going to take the Rams to win. I'm going to trust them that they're going to continue to try to push for the playoffs. Moving on to our next game, we got the Bucs at the Panthers. The Bucs are 6-point favorites, and there's a 46.5-point total. I feel like that's a pretty generous spread in favor of Carolina. I mean, I would favor the Bucs by probably, I would say 9.5. Right? I think the Panthers look a lot better recently, but the Bucs, they're in another tier. They're just in another tier. They're probably the best team in the division. I know I have the Falcons ranked above them, but they just got to prove it, right? And I think if they blow out the Panthers, who have been starting to pick up some steam, like they blew out the Giants, then people understand that this team is no joke. They have Evans back, and they're once again a high quality team. As for the Panthers, I think they're going to score points. I have them scoring 20, to the Bucs 27. So it's not like I have them going out there doing nothing. That's going to be the over as well, over 46.5. But yeah, I just don't see it. I believe Jatavion Sanders is now out for the rest of the year, or at least going to miss a couple of weeks. So that's going to be a loss for them. And, the Panthers just don't have a lot of upside. I see them kind of having a similar performance to the Giants, to be honest. So I took the Bucs spread. Moving on to the next game. This has been definitely the biggest game this week, and a game that I am so excited to watch. Listen, Eagles fans, do I like the Eagles? No. But do I love it when they get tested? 100%. Because then I don't have to assume or guess anymore what they're capable of, right? If they can hang with the Ravens, I will be a lot more convinced about their coaching staff and their ability to hang in there with other great teams that have great coaching staffs. It's going to be really good for the fan base. Now, that being said, this Ravens team is borderline unstoppable. They've lost to the Chiefs in a fluke game to Jameis Winston and the Steelers. So two of those things pretty much all those things we can expect every year from these AFC North teams, but we know that they're great, right? And I just think this game might come down to whoever has the ball last. This Ravens defense has not been good. The Eagles defense has actually been much better than the Ravens defense, but I would definitely say the floor of the Ravens offense is higher, and I think we're just going to get into a shootout. And what's going to happen is the Eagles are going to run out of tricks in one of their drives in the fourth quarter. They're going to have to give the ball back to Lamar Jackson, and he's going to go down the field and score, whether it's 23-28 and he scores a touchdown, or it is 27-28 and they kick a field goal. Ravens are going to win, but give me the Eagles spread +3. I think it's a good bet, and over 51.5. So there's my take on that game. I'm sure all you Eagles fans were very eager to hear that one. But we're going to be moving on to our last two games. These two are going to be a lot quicker. The 49ers are traveling to Buffalo. This one's going to be a wash. I think Purdy might be playing, but even if he does, he's not going to be 100%. And they're still missing other guys like Bosa. I don't know if Trent Williams is coming back. So I just don't, the Bills are a top team right now. They really are. And just like the Ravens, they're going to expose a team like this if they have any sort of weakness right now, and that's injuries for them. So Buffalo -7 is quite a bit, but I do think they will cover just because I think once they snowball and once they get going, they really pile it on. And that's also going to be over 44.5. So I don't really think there's much to dissect there. If the 49ers were fully healthy, this would be an amazing game. But they aren't, unfortunately. I still think the 49ers can compete, but I just think the Bills are more put together right now. Moving on to our last game, we got the Browns traveling to Denver. Denver's been really hot recently, but I'm not like 100% sold on them, but I'm there, right? I'm ready to be convinced. They just got to do it. If they can cover this spread this week, that might do it for me. Not saying the Browns are a great team, but I just want to keep seeing the consistency, right? So I have them at 12 right now. If they can win any more of these games, then I could see them maybe moving up to like 10, kind of where the Chargers are. And the Seahawks are at 11. I don't see them moving past the Texans, Vikings, Packers, or Steelers, but, they keep proving it every week. So they really might be able to. In this game, I have the Broncos winning 24-20, so that I don't have them covering the spread of 5.5, and I have the over hitting over 41.5. I do think that both offenses will be able to do enough, get enough explosive plays. They've both been kind of coming on more recently. Jameis Winston's been helping out the Browns. Cedric Tillman, Jerry Jeudy looking good. Elijah Moore as well. And then obviously the Broncos have a large collection of players that they like to make use of. And Sean Payton and Bo Nix have been understanding how to get that done. So I do think the Broncos win, but give me the Browns spread. I haven't tallied up like my spread, my total, my spread and my over-under picks throughout the year, but I'll do that at the end of the year, and I'll let you guys know how I did. But I'm not like advising anyone to make any bets on any of these things. This is just what I am saying, what I'm thinking, and my elaborations on why I think that. So that is all the games for this week. That is my Thanksgiving reaction, and that is my sort of raw, unscripted reaction to the Chiefs-Raiders game. This should be my last video for this week. Like I said, I'm pretty much on schedule, and I just get to relax and enjoy football until I suppose I have to come out with a power rankings video on next Tuesday. Might work on a Monday just to get it done. There's only two teams that'll be left, that being the Browns and the Broncos. But yeah, so that's all I'll have to do. Get a nice couple days off. It was a great Thanksgiving weekend so far. I'm about to enjoy the rest of it after editing this video. Happy Black Friday. Like I said, happy Thanksgiving. And like, comment, and subscribe on the video to support the channel. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.